Hi, I'm Ray, and this is the Phone Arena Q&A. We'll start off with a question by Xperia Fanzone. Is there any real benefit of having displays of over 1080p on phones? Now, in my opinion, there is some noticeable difference between a 720p display and a 1080p display on a smartphone with a size of about 4 inches and up. However, I think that even on 5-inch displays, a 720p resolution is enough to deliver great clarity as long as you don't really stare super closely at your display, which I hope that not many people do. So having in mind that you can have a longer battery life as well as better system performance with a 720p display, I think the trade-off you'll be doing is actually really worth it. But that's just what I think. I really don't see that much point in having a 1080p screen on a phone. Marbovo has asked the following question. What do you think about Google not updating its Galaxy Nexus and Apple update its iPhone 4? Well, I think that Apple is really miles ahead of its competition when it comes to software support. You know, the iPhone 4, which got iOS 7, was actually launched in 2010, and it's the same year that Google launched both the Nexus 1 and the Nexus S. And can you imagine these two Nexus devices getting updates to Android 4.4? You know, it's completely out of the question. A newer and way more powerful device like the Galaxy Nexus is not going to be updated, let alone those older devices. And there isn't any hardware compatibility reason or anything, it's just because of Google's 18-month support period. Well, I think Google definitely has to extend its software support period. Tom the Nerd is having some iOS related issues, and his message goes like that. Ever since the iOS 7 update, the majority of iPhone owners have been experiencing terrible battery life, random rebooting, crashing, blue screen of death. There have already been 3 updates ever since, but none of these constant problems have been removed. It's a bug-infested mess, so what would you suggest owners can do to avoid this? Now, unfortunately, it's true that a lot of people have experienced problems after installing iOS 7 on their devices. Personally, I've used iOS 7 on an iPhone 5S, an iPhone 4S, and on an iPad 2. And I have to say that I haven't come across any real issues, but obviously that's not the case with everyone. So while there isn't any proven solution to these problems yet, I could recommend doing a fresh recovery of the system, a fresh install, as well as enabling the reduce motion and increase contrast switches in the accessibility settings. This should improve both performance and battery life, especially on older devices. Abhijitkumar.net is wondering, will Moto G be available outside of the US, and which one would be a better buy, Nexus 5 or Moto G? Thanks. Well, as it seems, the Moto G will mostly be a global smartphone, so yes, it should be available outside of the US, but we can't be sure which one is going to be the better deal right now. If the Moto G is really priced as low as some of the rumors suggest, then both are going to be extremely good deals, depending on whether you want a higher end phone or something a bit more mid-range. But we'll first have to play with both and see how they perform in order to make a more detailed conclusion. Hopefully the Moto G will not suffer from any lag issues or anything like that with its Android 4.4 KitKat OS. Geoffrey BJ has a camera related question. Ray, what is the best camera? Xperia Z1 or iPhone 5S? In my opinion, both cameras are fantastic, with one of the Xperia Z1 being even more fantastic than that of the 5S. So that was all for today's episode of the Phone Arena Q&A. Be sure to post your questions below for next time or in our Q&A post at phonearena.com.